Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Jacob. In this video I want to talk about how to figure out what is next in your online business. What are you going to do next? Right now I don't mean like, what's the next task you've got to complete. I mean, over the time you're in this game, there's going to come kind of decision points where you need to figure out your next big move. Right, I'm not talking about like little moves along the way, like, oh, should I post this piece of content or not, or whatever. But I'm talking about like, what is my next big play? And these are really important decisions, because if you make these incorrectly, or you make uninformed decisions, or you don't give yourself enough time to reflect in order to make an informed or correct decision, it can set you back a long way. Potentially financially, if you end up working with the wrong people or going down the wrong path, time-wise, energy, emotionally, there's a lot of shit that can go wrong if you make the wrong next move. Okay, and so I've had this moment pop up a few times over the last few years, so I think I can shed some light for you on how to handle this, how to think about it, how to deal with it, and I think we can help you. Even if you're not facing this right now, it's going to come up at some point in the future. So this information will arm you well when that time comes. All right, that's what we're going to dive into in this video. I'm going to roll the intro and we'll get started. Alright, so before we dive into this one, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon so you get notified whenever I drop a new video. If you get any value from this one, if this helps you out, be sure to smash the like button. And if you want to work with me and my team on high-ticket affiliate marketing, then check out the links in the description. You can get all the info about a program that I run called the Super Affiliate Accelerator. Okay, so let's talk about this one. The most recent time that this popped up for me was last year. I just wrapped up the KBB launch with Tony, Dean, and Russell, which is what this little M is from. I got that when I went to a party with them in Vegas for the top affiliates. I just hit the milestone that I wanted to with Legendary Marketer, and that was their 6-figure club, which is the ring you can see next to it. And I was trying to figure out what's next, right? Like, do I kind of keep doing what I'm doing, which was going well, or do I want to tackle a new challenge? And I had some other stuff going on in life at the time, and I think that prolonged this process as well. So I guess depending on what else you've got going on can impact how you think about making that next move. But for me, there was a bit of other shit going on that was definitely not helping this process. So this may be easier for you than it was for me. But figuring out that next move honestly took me a couple of months. And I was lucky I was in a position where I could take some time off and really figure it out. But things got worse before they got better. When I couldn't quite put my finger on it and I couldn't quite figure out what I wanted to do, it became pretty debilitating. And it put me into a bit of a rut and a bit of a hole that I struggled to work my way out of for quite some time. It kind of paralyzed me from taking any massive actions, because I was like, I don't know if this is the thing. And when I look back on that time now, I think what I took too long to realize was that I really needed to self-reflect on what stuff I was enjoying from working online and what stuff I was missing from my previous career. If I'd arrived at that insight sooner, the path would have become a lot clearer. I was just kind of got to the point where I was just going in circles in my head. So I think what you really want to focus on thinking about is, first and foremost, what's your goal, right? Like, if you've got a goal of your next move is, I want to get to 100K a month, you need to think, okay, well, what strategy is going to facilitate that happening, right? So if you want to hit 100 grand a month, you're not going to go and release a $37 mini course, right, and put all your time and your effort into that and growing that, because it's not going to get you there unless unless something goes viral or whatever. But being reasonable and logical, you're not going to do that. So you need to pick a strategy that's congruent with your goal. But I think you've also got to reflect and go, is there anything that I want to be sure to integrate into this? And so for me, I was pretty confident I was looking for a new challenge. That was pretty clear to me. But what that challenge wasn't clear to me. And after a lot of reflection and a lot of time thinking about it, one big thing I realized I was missing from the corporate world was working with people, was surrounding myself with people. And so I knew when I found the exact structure of what this new challenge was, that I wanted it to integrate people. And so you need to think about that. Like, do you want to work with more people or do you want to work with less people? And all of these little nuances will help you structure up what your next move is. Maybe you just want to go into full isolation and you just want to, sit on your own building something. So you need to think about that. You've got to think about, what's my situation? What are my goals? What do I actually want to do? What do I not want to do? Who do I want to be surrounded by? Who don't I want to be surrounded by? Do I want to work with students? Do I not want to work with students? Do I want to have FaceTime talking to people? Or do I just want to sit and build? Right? You've got to figure out those things and answer those questions for yourself, so that when these ideas about what's the next move are floating around, an idea is great, but you've got to figure out, how am I going to structure this so that it's optimized for my goals, my situation, what I do want to do and what I don't want to do. Right now, chances are you're not going to be able to make it perfect, but at least if you reflect on those things, at least if you ask yourself those questions, you will be able to create a strategy and create a plan that is way more likely to be in line with you and be in line with what you actually want to do, than if you just think about like the end goal and you don't think about any of the kind of mechanisms along the way or the logistics of it all. The goal is an important part, but you've got to think about, what aspects do I actually want included and what do I not want included? And that's going to come down to you. It's going to come down to your situation. It's going to come down to what you want to achieve. I knew I wanted to take on the new challenge of rolling out my own program. I just didn't know the exact structure. So I had to take time and reflect on all of those aspects and kind of spin those ideas around in my head a little bit. I had to find the right people to work with. Like I said, I wanted to work with people, but I had to find the right people and make sure they were the right people. And all this stuff takes time. But if you go into the next thing blind and not reflecting on these issues, then you might get halfway into it and go, shit, this is not what I want to do. Right? This is not what I thought I was signing up for. And that might be 10 grand later, 3 months in, and all of a sudden you've spent a lot of time and energy and money investing into this thing and thinking it was the next big move that you were going to make, and you go, shit, I don't want to do this. And then you're going to go straight back to the start, but you're going to have been slapped around the head a little bit by this kind of false start. So the biggest tip that I can give you is, if you feel like you're coming to a bit of a crossroads and you're trying to figure out your next move, is give yourself the time to take a step back and reflect on those things that we just spoke about, right? Like, what is the goal that I want to achieve? And is the strategy that I'm thinking about using actually realistically going to get me there? Is there evidence that it can get me there? Or do I need to use a slightly different strategy that can actually allow this to happen? People is a big one. Do you want to work with people or do you not want to work with people? Right? Do you want your face to be out there or do you not want it to be out there? How much FaceTime do you want with people? Right? What type of work do you want to be doing on a daily basis? What problems do you want to be helping people solve or solving for yourself? Right? How much work do you want to do? How big of an undertaking are you ready to take on? What type of time resources do you have to commit? What type of financial resources do you have to commit? Right? It's all well and good to have this great idea about a SaaS company that you want to go and start, but if that's going to cost you 200 grand and you've only got 5 grand in the bank, that's not your next move. Right? These are all questions that you need to ask yourself. And honestly, having been through that process for a few months and gone around in circles, that was the biggest takeaway. Is I was just sitting there doing a lot of thinking and a lot of planning and trying to figure out what was next, without really clearly asking myself those questions. So I would encourage you to write those things down and answer them for yourself, and use that to help formulate your next move. Those big ticket items will really, really help you plan and figure out what the what the next play is, right? What are your energy levels like? Are you ready to take on a big challenge, or are you not quite there yet? Should you keep doing what you're currently doing for a little bit longer until you're kind of rejuvenated and ready to take on something new, right? Especially if you're like for me, going from just doing affiliate marketing to rolling out my own program, I think too many people underestimate the commitment that takes, right? Like we've been running that coming up on 11 months now, showing up every day, helping people, getting on the calls every week, always adding new content. It's a big undertaking. People think like selling information is an easy business. It's not, right? Like you should not underappreciate people putting their faith in you and spending money with you. And I knew this going into it, and so I had to make sure that I was fully ready and fully committed for the long term. So much shit has popped up and gone, especially in the affiliate marketing space, since the time that we rolled out the accelerator program, because people aren't committed to it. They're not ready for the undertaking. They think they probably view it as an easy win, as an easy cash grab, right? You've got to be ready to fully dive into whatever that next move is, and asking yourself those questions and really answering them will help you figure out what that next move is. Now, look, there's no perfect science here. There's no perfect solution. There is always the chance that you start something, even after reflecting on those things, and it's not the right thing. What you need to do, if that is the case, is you need to figure out, how do I mitigate the damage? How do I mitigate spend? How do I mitigate time? How do I mitigate the emotional toll? If you have the epiphany, like, okay, I'm into this thing, but this isn't the right thing, how do I manage my way out of it so that I can get back to figuring out the actual next move while minimizing collateral damage, not letting people down, not missing out on delivering on commitments, all these kind of things. Too many people will start something, they'll sell something, they'll take money, and then they'll go, shit, I don't want to do this anymore, and they'll just drop the ball, right? Not okay. You have to meet your commitments to people, and this is why you need to take it seriously in terms of moving into a new project, right? Especially if you're going to be selling something to people. Now, one thing that I want to add to this is, don't get stuck, despite all that reflection and stuff that we've just spoken about. Don't get stuck in thinking mode for too long, right? You need to reflect on those things and build a plan and start moving, right? Give yourself the time, but don't give yourself too much time. That was another thing that I realized, is I took too long and I got stuck, going in circles and spinning ideas around my head, which creates doubt and uncertainty. You want to give yourself the necessary time, but you don't want to give yourself too much time, because otherwise you're gonna get distracted by too many different things. You're gonna lose momentum. It's just not a place that you want to end up. You give yourself the breathing space, and you develop your best possible solution with the information that you have on hand, and you move forward with that and move forward quickly. When we had clarity on the plan that we wanted to follow for the accelerator program, in a matter of weeks we were launching and taking people in, but there was a good amount of pre-planning that went into that, right? So we were sure that was the correct move, and things changed, and there was iterations and ideas got moved around, and some people came in, some people left, all these kind of things. But when it was locked in and we were ready to go, you move quickly, right? You take imperfect action. So don't let yourself get stuck in the thinking pattern. It's important to take the time, it's important to reflect and to answer those questions, to come up with the strategy as best you can with the info that you have on hand. But when the path presents itself, you've got to move, and you've got to move quickly. Okay, they're my biggest tips when it comes to figuring out your next move. There's no exact science. Everyone's path is going to be different. You need to reflect using those things that we just spoke about. You need to give yourself the room and the time to do it. But then when the path lights itself up, you've got to run down it, and you can't hesitate. The hesitation will cause the doubt, which will take you back to the start of the planning process. And I went through that loop a ton of times. So I'm talking to you not just from theory, but from experience, and having been down that path pretty recently in the last 12 months, or in the last 18 months now. So they're my biggest tips. Take those on board, and you'll be able to figure out your next move, and then it's up to you to take the action required to implement it. Okay, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, give the video a like if that's helpful, if that sets off any light bulbs for you. Check out the Super Affiliate Accelerator if you want to get into high ticket affiliate marketing with me and my team. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.